Flannel was so kind to say, you know what? Let's just give the people a full Lions segment. We'll probably just take the Lions conversation all the way on to what's trending. So you guys better bring the energy. You know what I'm saying? Look, we hear the chat all the time. I get it. You guys want us to be strictly a Detroit Lions network. Well, not you guys. Our diehards, they respect the coverage that we bring to the table for all 4 sports teams and more. But we know that the Detroit Lions are kings right now. They have Super Bowl expectations a couple weeks away from training camp. Let's get into it, man. I want to reset this. The 33rd team, they had a question that they posed about who the best defensive line duo was in the NFL. And we got our hometown Lions, Aiden Hutchinson and DJ Reader. They made the list alongside the Texans, another upstart, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. Danielle Hunter, that was a target that I know a lot of Lions fans were hoping that the Detroit Lions wound up with. You also got the Browns, Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith, and then Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. And if there's anybody else missing from this list, you stated you would save it for this segment.
Yeah, I think if there's anybody missing from this list, I think you got to go San Francisco with Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa. If you want to count outside linebackers too, which it looks like they're doing, I think you got to put DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons from the Cowboys. If you want to do, I'm looking at the Eagles. It seems like they should be represented. I mean, Bryce Huff, Jalen Carter, but it seems like they have kind of more of a, like a Josh Sweat. Yeah. They have more of like just a embarrassment of riches. I don't know if they have a duo quite like this, but yeah, when you look at these duos, there's a pathway for the Lions one, I think, being as good as any of them. Because I think with the Browns, Zadarius Smith is clearly the weak link. I'm not saying that he's a bad player. He's a damn good football player, but he's not quite what he was on the Minnesota Vikings. He's kind of the Green Bay Packers. He is a complimentary defensive end. Christian Wilkins, I think DJ Reader can be every bit as effective as Christian Wilkins in their respective roles. Max Crosby still better than Aiden. Will Anderson had one rookie year, a damn good rookie year. I think he projects to be really, really good. But I think Aiden's better than Danielle Hunter. So it wouldn't shock me if at the end of the season you're looking at this Lions duo. But even with the Lions, it's more than just that. You've got a Lee McNeil. You have the potential. You have the potential of, and Spenmo Rax always says this, but I think it makes sense. Can James Houston and Marcus Davenport combine to make one great defensive end? Maybe. Or maybe individually they'll be enough on their own because you've seen it from them before in respective seasons. So yeah, Lions defensive line. Isn't it funny how not that long ago it was considered such a weak point? Even last year, looking at the Benito Joneses of the world and the Bohanas and the Tyson Alualus and all of that. It's come a long way.
Bruce Irvin.
Right.
Bruce Irvin for
Uncle
one game.
Bruce.
Hey, Bruce Irvin.
Put Derek Carr on a stretcher for one
Bruce
game.
Irvin injured Derek Carr and cost the Saints that game. Because did you see Jameis Winston come in?
That's the Bruce Irvin game, man.
That is the Bruce Irvin game.
We only win that game because of him.
He injured Derek Carr.
It was crazy too. Flannel dog, you remember your pregame too leading up to that? And when it happened, you were the first person I thought of, man. Uncle Bruce. Shout out to Uncle Bruce.
Oh, yeah, because I was always the one that predicted quarterbacks getting hurt. Usually it involved Baker Mayfield. I'm like, he's going to injure Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. He was like, look, I don't wish injury on anybody, but he's going to get hurt.
That was always, I almost forgot. That was my thing. Like every week I'd be like, and he's going to injure. Usually it was Aiden Hutchinson injuring a quarterback.
But you said a couple names. Obviously, Davenport and James Houston. I'm wondering how much, in terms of what Brad Holmes has added to the defensive line, keeps these guys more fresh and, less prone to injury, being able to rotate and platoon that way. And then just the potential of an Aleem McNeil as well to be able to, like what does he have to do to elevate into what this duo could be with Aiden Hutchinson? Right now, obviously, the pairing is Aiden and DJ Reader, and we know those are some dogs. But Aleem McNeil, I think he's going to have a special season during this contract year bump. You
know what's funny? And I've been pretty consistent about this. I think the improvements from guys like Aiden and Aleem and hell, even Houston and DJ, even when you're a veteran, you can improve. I think a lot of it will come from them, of course, and just the progressions of their games. But I just think having more pieces around, like Aiden Hutchinson, to me, I don't think he has to really improve his play much. I think that he's going to get more sacks as a byproduct of more help around him. He's going to have at least by PFF rankings last season, the best defensive line duo in the NFL. The only one that was better was Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner. We all know Aaron Donald retired. I think that's going to help more. I think having maybe a more consistent presence as the other edge rushing position and not having just a cast of characters that include like Josh Pascal and Charles Harris and the Okwara brothers and people like that, I think that'll help. And same with Aleem McNeil. Playing next to DJ Reader, that's hard to block. If you're a guard looking at DJ Reader and Aleem McNeil, that's a lot of, to quote the Heavyweights commercial, man meat. That's a lot. But skilled man meat. Man meat with moves, man meat that can take up double teams, man meat that can that has pass rushing moves instead of not just a bull rush.
Man
I think it's going to be huge. Man meat with moves, yeah.
These are all plausible moments.
That's I'm sure that'll be clipped somewhere, but that's okay.
But that's okay. No, I'm putting the Lions in this group, either in the 2 or the 3 spot. And before I sort of give some reasons, I want to ask you guys, who's the weakest of this duo? Because I'm wondering if should Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, should they be in this group?
I think so.
Should they be one of the top 4? Are there any Jets, Quinnen Williams and
oh yeah, no, you know what? You're absolutely right. Quinnen Williams and Hassan Reddick is better than at least a couple duos on this list.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
that's
so
a great one.
If they were in there, that might change things. But I think these two have, and we can talk about the entire defensive line, but I think what DJ Reader brings, I think it's going to help Hutch out so much. Like, I know you guys were talking about it, but even if it directly affects Aleem McNeil a little more, I think Aiden Hutchinson is still going to be the beneficiary of all that attention put on those guys in the middle.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that will lead to more sacks. I think Aiden Hutchinson makes that step forward this year, and I'm with you, Flannel. I think he's a step below Max Crosby. I still have Crosby better than Hutch. We're talking a little bit about it in the chat here with Denver Blair. But Hutch is coming. Like, he's a step below, not like multiple tiers below. I think at the end of the season, he could be in that elite pass rushing tier with Max Crosby.
I agree. I think right now, and I'm the biggest Hutch slappy of them all.
Factual.
I've got Hutch in the pantheon of defensive ends in that 6 to 8 range. He's in the Khalil Mack, Josh Allen tier with guys like Bosa and Parsons and Garrett and Watt and Crosby at clearly the top 5 right now. But those are guys who are going to be enshrined in Canton, Ohio someday. There is an embarrassment of riches in the NFL when it comes to edge rushers, as there should be, because they're so important.
Oh, no, I was just listening. I was taking it in. But no, I totally agree. I would rank them 2 on this list personally, but I mean, they're not that far off, man. And if DJ Reader can just stay healthy, that's going to be the big key for the Lions this year. DJ Reader staying healthy, because he's such a disruption in the middle. He's not the best, pass rusher in the world, but he definitely takes up 2 people, and that will automatically free up Aiden for more sacks, man. So I really just, you want DJ Reader to stay healthy this year, and you will see the benefits.
And I'm wondering, with the improvements along this defensive line, how much more does it free up Aiden Hutchinson to kind of be used as this versatile hybrid kind of defensive line? Like, we've seen this guy kind of drop back into coverage as well. You're adding, and we've seen him have success there. How much does kind of the help along this defensive line give Aiden Hutchinson the opportunity to go out there and have an absolutely monster season, doing things we haven't quite seen from that position?
Deep play.
I definitely am predicting a monster season from him. And just, you mentioned Hutchinson is dropping back into coverage. One of the greatest statistical anomalies you'll ever hear is that Aiden Hutchinson has more career interceptions than Sauce Gardner. and for the record, Sauce Gardner is arguably the best corner in the game. I am in no way, shape, or form disparaging Sauce Gardner. There is a lot more to playing the cornerback position than interceptions. He shuts down half the field. It's just, my point is it's a statistical anomaly. And yeah, he's shown that if he does need to drop back, or in the case of that game in 2022 against the Green Bay Packers, the one at Ford Field, he sniffed out that screenplay that he intercepted at the goal line. He's got the smarts to do it. He's got the football IQ to do stuff like that. And obviously
the goal line is where this improvement is going to be crazy.
Yes, and obviously we know what he can do rushing the passer and even playing the run. So yeah, monster season for Hutch.
He's just that good of an athlete. He has defensive player of the year potential.
Yep.
We might talk about it from this season till the end of his career as being in the mix for defensive player of the year. Like, he has that type of potential, and we might see it this year. It might get, nudged along a little bit more, maybe a lot more, if the Lions consider a native of Pontiac, Michigan. A
That's
32-year-old or currently a 31-year-old edge rusher
Yes,
on
sir.
a team that's going into full rebuild or is beginning full rebuild at this moment. That's the New England Patriots, and that's Matthew Judon.
Everybody in the community has been like, pick.
Yes.
Word to Flannel Sam.
You know, the question about Matthew Judon, and obviously in a vacuum, I would be jumping on this table if the Lions got Matthew Judon, is would you guys consider him not a depreciated asset, but he is coming off of an injury. He had 4 sacks in 4 games in that injury-riddled season.
Right.
He's a little bit older. Could you fleece the Patriots?
I believe so.
Maybe you could. That's the question. If you can fleece the Patriots, if you can just give up some draft capital, I would do it 100%. You could have, if you've got Aiden Hutchinson and Matthew Judon, like prime Matthew Judon, like double-digit sack multiple times Matthew Judon, even a sack a game last year in a limited sample size.
Sheesh.
Best edge rushing duo in the NFL? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Would you give up a 3? And I say that, and you might not have to, but Hassan Reddick with the Eagles, he went for a conditional 3rd rounder to the Jets. He's younger, I believe.
Yeah.
So you might not need to give up a 3rd, but I want to use that as a bit. I don't know if I'm willing to part ways with a Brad Holmes 3rd-round pick. I don't know what the extension would look like. He would likely want an extension. He's in the last year of a 4-year, $56 million contract. Can you get him a Cameron Wake type extension, a 2-year, $27 million? Or I don't know what it would cost, but would you be willing to go as far up as a 3rd rounder for Matthew Judon?
Man, you talking about
That's
really
tough.
talking about maximizing that
rental.
Super Bowl window.
Yeah.
Might be a rental.
That's when you do something like that, man. If you really believe that this is a move that puts you over the top within a year or two, then it's something that you got to strongly consider. But you make a great point, Broder. When you're talking about Brad Holmes and everything he's doing about the longevity of the success, he has already put out there on record that he wants this to be something that goes on beyond just a year or two or a cute season. Does kind of giving up that 3rd-round pick in which Brad Holmes and this front office can cook up, does that affect any of that? Especially for a team that already has Super Bowl aspirations as currently constructed.
I guess the question you also have to ask, and like I said, I'm pretty much all for it at this moment, but some gears are kind of shifting in my head a little bit. If you bring in a Matthew Judon, if you have to extend him, does that affect your ability to re-sign like an Aleem McNeil or an Ife Melifonwu? Those are the questions that you have to ask, unfortunately, because when you have a lot of good draft picks, as we've seen with Brad Holmes,
gotta get paid.
Amon-Ra got paid, for
true.
example. Penei got paid, and there's going to be some that aren't going to be able to be on this team, regardless if you get Matthew Judon or not. If you get Matthew Judon, I think that might expedite the whole might have to get rid of Aleem McNeil process, especially if he has that monster contract year season that you're predicting and that we all think is possible. He might price himself out of Detroit. But Matthew Judon, is he also the difference between a Super Bowl and not? Does he give you more confidence in the defensive line? Are you worried at all about James Houston and Marcus Davenport? And there are reasons to be.
Yeah.
There are a lot more reasons to be
valid.
worried about them as players than Matthew Judon.
That's very valid.
Yeah.
He may be.
Got to
He may
ask
be.
those questions. It's
But-
not fun to do, but you got to do it.
If you're not going to re-sign him, and he can also make the decision that, he just wants to be here for the run and he doesn't want to re-sign with us. I don't know if I'm coming out of a 3rd, man, because that's pretty high draft capital. And then you consider Brad Holmes, he traded, he had 2 4th-round picks in the previous draft. He traded one of them. I believe they still have one. But if I had the extra padding, then maybe I would consider it. But at this point, I don't know. He's 31. He's coming off of injury, and they don't want to pay him. So I think a 3rd-round pick is just a little bit too steep. 4th or 5th, let's talk. But the 3rd round, that's a lot of capital for a guy that you may not keep. But will he make the difference? I believe so.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking at a 14 to 15 sack guy when healthy. Like Sam said, he played 4 games last year, had a sack in every game. So, and he's still pretty much, I wouldn't say in the prime. He's just off of his prime, but he's still a pretty good player that can definitely produce for you.
And here's my question as well, just kind of a nuance on what you're saying here, KG, because I think that a lot of this also has to do with the expectations we already have for this team. If he was a guy that you sign because his defensive line maybe has a lot less on it than it does right now,
Yeah.
does that change anything if you believe, bringing this guy in now makes us one of these teams that can compete with the big fellas?
It absolutely would. But you have a Marcus Davenport.
Yeah,
you
they already
brought
built.
DJ Reader in. You're looking forward to James Houston maybe having a bounce back season. So you're not like desperate at this point. Like maybe last year, absolutely, I'm risking that capital to go get a guy like that. And he's the perfect bookend to Aiden Hutchinson. But in this situation, I don't know if I'm doing that.
And I bring that up just because of the job, just to highlight the job that this front office has done just a year ago at the trade deadline, a season ago, not even a year ago, like some months ago.
Yeah.
We were all like, what is he doing with the defensive line? You got to do this, that, and the other. And now we're like months later, like, yeah, I would like to have him, but it's not really urgent. Why? Because Brad Holmes has absolutely cooked up. When you talked about why you third round might be too much and fourth and fifth is we can talk. It's because of everything Brad Holmes has already added to this defensive line.
And he's not an F them picks type of guy. Even though we are in a Super Bowl window and we're trying to go for it, I would understand it, but he's just not the F them picks type of dude.
Hey, I'm seeing some support for some of the guys on this roster already as well. You know, Weezy D, 313, don't sleep on Pascal, and Levi.
Pascal too. You have more depth this time.
Yeah,
around.
but my thing about guys like Josh Pascal and Levi and by the way, I predicted a breakout season by his standards from Josh Pascal, is that you look at them, if they're depth pieces, if guys like them and John Kaminsky and then a guy like Mekhi Wingo, who was a draft pick, if those are depth pieces and not starters, you're very, very happy. You're thinking, okay, there's a lot of depth on this defensive line. It's that they can, I would say, fit the skill sets. And even if you add a guy like Broderick Martin in there, Broderick Martin can be like the poverty man's DJ Reader, and then Mekhi Wingo can be the poor man's Ali McNeil, sort of coming off of the bench. And with John Kaminsky and Josh Pascal, did you love them as starters? Not necessarily, but do you love them as depth pieces? Absolutely. And Levi O, if Levi O is like your sixth defensive lineman, that's not bad. He's certainly not a starter. He's one of the few Brad Holmes misses, but if he can contribute to a Super Bowl team in any way, then what really is a miss? What even matters at that point?